Okay, so I'm so excited to welcome Hadley and Saskia from My Pediatrician Friend, who are going to talk about the Safe Summer Playbook with us today.
Thank you so much. Saskia, are you able to share slides?
Yes. I'm going to pull it up now. But if there's any glitches, just let me know. Okay. Share. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Do you see the
Yep.
presentation? Okay, great. Okay, so Hadley, I'll let you start off.
Awesome. So I'm Hadley Brighton. Saskia Jex is on the call as well, and we are two of the pediatricians from My Pediatrician Friend. There's three of us. Brooke Spector got pulled into something clinical, so probably can't make it, but might join at the end if she's able to. So, Sas, if you don't mind going to the next slide, this is kind of what we're going to go through, and then before we do that, we'll introduce ourselves. But we're going to tell you a little bit about My Pediatrician Friend. We'll talk about sun, heat, and hydration. We'll talk a little bit about water safety and preparedness, and bugs and ticks, and then we'll take whatever questions you guys have. We're happy to go through them. So the three of us, Brooke is in the middle of that photo over there, are all moms and pediatricians, and we started this business called My Pediatrician Friend. Really from our own personal experience, we felt like we had so many friends that already had great pediatricians and have great mom chats and really needed something kind of that in between. And so we felt like we were all getting texts all the time that was like, if you were in this situation, what would you do? And when would you go to the doctor? And what would you think about next? And what would you buy? And would you do something over the counter? And all these questions that we were like, these are fabulous questions, but we spent a lot of time thinking about them and trying to give them good answers. And we kind of joked that should we turn this into a business and is this something that we should offer to more moms? So we developed My Pediatrician Friend. We'll kind of talk about that on the next slide, but basically it's a subscription service where people can pay as low as $20 a month, depending on what kind of level of tier of membership you buy, to be able to text us unlimited questions. And it goes right to us through a HIPAA compliant app. So it goes right to our phones. It's only to doctor moms, and we're able to answer questions for parents. We joke that we do have to sleep a little bit. So we're on Eastern Standard Time. We're kind of in the New York area, but between probably like 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and maybe like 6 a.m., you won't get a fast response. But other than that, you will always hear back from one of us. And what else? We offer gift cards. So if you're ever going to a baby shower and you want to give that as someone, I think it's a really nice gift to get because I feel like those first months after having a baby are filled with all the questions of is this normal or is this not? I went out of order, so now I'll introduce myself.
Okay, let's go to the top here.
So my name is Hadley Brighton. I'm a board certified pediatrician. I'm certified in general pediatrics and in
Oh, you froze. Did I freeze or did you freeze?
I think it's just Hadley. Hadley, can you hear us?
Hadley, you there? All right, well, I'll start chatting until she comes back.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, she might have to rejoin sometimes when that happens.
Perfect. So that's Hadley, who was just speaking. She's one of our three pediatrician moms who's part of My Pediatrician Friend. Oh, she said she got kicked off, so she's joining again. So she is board certified in general peds and hospitalist medicine, which means she spends time between the newborn nursery, that pediatrician that would come in after you give birth, who would check out your baby, that's her, and also on the inpatient floor. So taking care of kids who are admitted to the hospital that need inpatient care. I am Saskia. I am board certified in general peds. I am an outpatient pediatrician, so I'm the doctor you would see when you go for your checkups or your sick visits. That's what I do. But actually, recently, I stopped working at the clinic where I was working before. I worked at Cornell, same as Hadley and Brooke. And now I am full-time My Pediatrician Friend because we felt like we needed boots on the ground. We needed someone doing it full-time. So that is me now. And then Brooke, who's our third pediatrician mom, is similar to Hadley. She is board certified in general pediatrics and hospitalist medicine. And so she also splits her time between the newborn nursery and the inpatient floors. So I guess I'll keep talking until Hadley gets in, but she might need to be admitted. But Hadley kind of talked about this a little bit, but what is my pediatrician friend? So it's basically designed to fill that gap, the gap between going to your pediatrician, you can't always get there right away, and Googling something. So you want expert opinions, but if you can't make it into the pediatrician's office, a lot of parents were saying, like, we need that in between. I don't want to Google something, but I also don't have time to call the pediatrician, wait for a call back. I need someone who can be there for me in those moments where I have a quick medical question. It was designed to lighten the maternal mental load. As moms, we all know this. The mental load is huge. So we were trying. We're moms too, and we know how much mental load there is for us. So that's what we're aiming to be. We're there to be, a support system for parents and moms. Hadley kind of talked about this a little bit, but how it works, it's a subscription service. You sign up for monthly, quarterly, or yearly. You get unlimited texting pretty much anytime, anywhere in the US. You can cancel anytime, but you are going to get a response pretty quickly during the daytime hours and even sometimes overnight. Like, you never know. We're all moms. Sometimes we're up in the middle of the night, and if you text us at 3 a.m. and I happen to be up because my daughter is puking, I'm going to respond to you. So you never know. We're pretty quick. Usually you get a response within minutes to within the hour. And it's sort of like having your best friend be a pediatrician who you can ask anything, anytime, and you don't have to feel silly about it. So no question is off limits. You can text us 100 times a day. You can text us once a month, whatever works for you. Okay, so what are the kind of, people are always like, yeah, but what am I going to use you for? So we wrote down a list of things that we get all the time. So these are common topics that we get asked about on My Pediatrician Friend. So obviously, if I had a baby, you remember that newborn period, it's sort of like, what is going on? This is a whole new world. I don't know what's going on. So we get feeding questions, sleeping questions, gas all the time. Babies have gas. What do you do for it? We're in the moment, real time triaging with parents. Schedules, rashes. Other things we get questions about is like someone's going to their 15-month visit, and they're like, what are they going to ask at that time? What are questions I need to ask my pediatrician? We get those questions a lot. We can walk you through what to expect at a 15-month visit. Similarly, when you go for a sick visit, you get the instructions from your pediatrician, and they're like, do this, do this, do this. And then you come home and you're like, what am I supposed to be doing? So we're there to clarify the instructions. If you go to like a subspecialist appointment, say like a dermatologist, and they say it was this, and these are the creams you need, but now you're all confused. We're happy to walk through that with us. When you're sick, like they tell you to go home and take Tylenol and Motrin, but can you take them at the same time? How often can I take them? We can answer those questions. Medications, they give you a prescription. You don't really understand how to give it, or your child throws up the prescription. Can you give it again? How much Tylenol, over-the-counter Tylenol, can I give? We answer these questions. Rashes, we can accept pictures, videos. It's all on a HIPAA-compliant app, so you can send us any pictures and any videos. We're not diagnosing things and we're not treating things, but you send us a picture and we can say, this looks very much like X, Y, and Z. Here's what we would do for X, Y, and Z. Or with this rash, we do recommend seeing a pediatrician. We see that a lot. We talk about feeding. Parents have questions. I had it myself. How to breastfeed. Breastfeeding isn't working. How do I switch to cow's milk when they're a year old? How do I introduce solids? We can answer all those. And then poop. I swear we get a poop question at least 5 times a day. So we've seen every poop picture you can imagine. We get poop questions all the time. So anything you can think of, we got it. Here's like little practical real life examples. Here's someone texting, my baby hasn't pooped today. Should I start to worry? My son just got amoxicillin for an ear infection. He's miserable. What else can I do? There's an outbreak of hand, foot, mouth at our daycare. What should I be looking out for? Those are just examples of reasons why people would text my pediatrician friend. Okay, so I think this is me again talking, so I'll keep chatting your ear off. Yes, and then I'll switch over to Hadley for the next
Yes,
part.
I'm back.
Okay,
sorry about that.
She came back. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about sun, heat issues, and hydration. Okay, so everyone has this question about sunscreen, especially in the summertime, because we all have heard that rule, no sunscreen under 6 months of age. So what does that really mean? So The recommendation is for kids under 6 months of age, we don't necessarily want them to have sunscreen all over the body. The reason why is because, and especially chemical sunscreen, and we'll break that down for you. Their infant skin is really thin, and chemical sunscreen gets absorbed by the body. So we really like to limit that exposure for kids under 6 months of age because their skin is very thin. So what do we recommend? The primary defense against the sun at this age are physical barriers. So like a wide brim sun hat, which every baby loves to wear and never takes off. Sunshade, so like a tent or an umbrella. And then lightweight UV blocking clothing. That's the ideal. However, if you live in an area where there's sun all the time and you can't avoid the sun, like you live in Florida and it is sunny all the time and you have a new baby, you don't have to necessarily not do sunscreen. You can introduce a mineral-based sunscreen earlier than 6 months of age. This is our real life caveat on places like the hands, the feet. The only thing we recommend is doing it for a short period of time and then washing off afterwards. And really using those physical barriers as your best defense against the sun. And then, so let's talk a little bit about chemical versus mineral, because I keep talking about that. So ideally for kids, we do recommend mineral-based sunscreen. What is mineral-based sunscreen? It's that sunscreen that when you put it on, it leaves that white cast. So it is primarily made up of zinc oxide, which gives it that white cast, or titanium dioxide. It's thicker, it's harder to spread, but it works the best. And the other key thing is that it sits on top of the skin and works like a physical barrier to the sun versus chemical, which absorbs into the skin and requires time to be effective. I mean, the minute you put on that mineral-based sunscreen, you're white, you're protected, you're ready to go. It's usually less irritating, ideal for eczema and sensitive skin like that. And again, like it works immediately on application. So chemical-based sunscreens are the ones that have that oxybenzoin. I always say it wrong, oxybenzone or avobenzoin. Those chemicals that work by absorbing into the skin and taking time to kind of block the UV rays. Those often can sting and cause a little bit more irritation, and they're a little more harmful. So we don't love them for kids, but the reason why they're marketed and people use them a lot is because they're thinner, they go on easy, and they don't leave that white cast, which a lot of like older kids hate. But really that white cast is what's best for them. Okay, some other sunscreen tips. What people ask us all the time, what's the best sunscreen? Our answer is the one that your child will wear. Whatever they want to wear, whatever doesn't irritate them, that's the best one. Ideally, it should be one that is mineral-based for the reasons we talked about. Again, that's the ones with zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, because these are the gentlest and safest options. You want to look for a sunscreen that says broad spectrum, and this means that it blocks both UVA and UVB rays. If it doesn't have that, it often doesn't protect against both. You also want to look for water resistant. This means that it doesn't mean it's going to be waterproof, but it's going to stay on the body and protect for, they'll usually stay on there either 40 or 80 minutes. These are the ones that will really stay on and protect the most, especially, you want to use these especially on the kids that are like very active, sweating a lot, and in water a lot. And again, always reapply as directed. Usually that's every 2 hours. And then you really want to make sure you're using an SPF 30 or higher. They do have some that are like SPF 100, SPF 70, but really anything over 50 is not necessary. SPF 30 to 50 is ideal, and it'll block almost 99% of the UV and UVB rays. Okay, what else? Okay, I'm going to pass this over to Hadley. You can stop listening to me. Yeah.
Sorry, I got kicked off. Of course, my Wi-Fi breaks in the middle of it, but we're on my cell phone now. So we'll talk a little bit about babies in the summer, and I think this comes up a lot in our texting app. So babies can really overheat faster than adults. They don't regulate their body temperature as well because they really don't sweat much, which also can lead to them easily developing heat rash, which is something that we get pictures of all the time. So something to think about if your baby was out in the sun and then developed a little bit of a rash. For that reason, we usually say to try to avoid the hottest part of the day if possible. So trying to do your kind of longer walks with baby in the morning or in the evening once things have cooled down a little bit. And then trying to dress baby for the weather. So generally what we say for newborns is that we say like they're comfortable in one extra layer than what we're comfortable in. So if you're in kind of a tank top and you feel good, they might need a onesie and like a light swaddle for summer. Speaking of walks and kind of being outside, I think people probably know this by now, but just trying not to drape any blanket over the stroller because that can really make that stroller get almost like 15 degrees hotter in just half an hour. So trying not to kind of trap heat in for a baby. And the other things that I'm sure you guys have or have seen are like clip-on fans, open UV mesh sunshades, or even the little umbrellas that help to block the sun. But just trying not to kind of trap in the heat because that's kind of working against what we're trying to do. Other things to think about for babies outside in the summer, oftentimes it's the beach. Babies at the beach are so funny. You spend the entire time like setting it up for them, 10 minutes enjoying it, and then the rest of the time cleaning up. But when you do go to the beach and if you get a little time to relax, we like these little tents that you can put baby in. But the other thing is if you don't want to go buy another thing or you don't happen to have a tent, is even just setting up like those little fitted sheets where you anchor the corners. You can make a little play space for baby, add some toys in there, and then using one of your regular beach umbrellas to kind of protect them from the sun can be worthwhile as well. When we think about kind of heat versus fever, this one I think parsing these out really has a lot to do with kind of what else is going on with your baby. So if your baby was totally fine and then now is seeming like they have a fever, they feel warm and you're concerned, and they were also outside, obviously that would kind of lead you in the direction of thinking about like heat exhaustion and it being from the environment. But that being said, if baby hasn't really spent a lot of time outside and is starting to feel warm, and you are seeing kind of other symptoms, usually fever usually goes along with something. So is there cough? Is there congestion? Is there a runny nose? One of the things that we see a lot in the summer too, is there any sort of sores in the mouth? A lot of kids that when they develop hand, foot, and mouth will get fussy, clingy, have a fever. And then usually the last thing that parents will notice is if you actually open their mouth, you'll see like in the back there that there actually are sores in place. So keeping out, are they kind of upset when they're eating or having issues with feeding? That can point you in that direction as well. And making sure that if they are outside and seem like they've developed a little bit of a kind of heat rash or they seem warm, making sure that you take them into an air-conditioned room, let them cool off, and making sure that they're getting enough feeds and hydration, because that's really important in the summer as well. Which leads us to touch on kind of infant hydration. So breast milk and formula really do provide 100% of baby's hydration needs for those first 6 months of life. And adding any additional water, even though it's like tempting because you have a baby that's out in the heat, can actually be really dangerous. The kidneys can't handle water when they're first born, and so that causes electrolyte disturbances that can be problematic for babies. So making sure that if you're giving anything extra, it's just kind of breast milk or formula rather than actual water. And then looking out for the signs of dehydration. So we generally say we keep an eye on wet diapers, right? And you sort of, once you know your baby, you kind of know the general weight. Like, in the morning, it's usually a heavier diaper and what you're looking for throughout the day. But if you're concerned, keeping track of kind of wet diapers or jotting them down can be helpful as well. Also looking out for things like dry lips, or if baby's like energy is just kind of teetering down, those would be things that we would consider abnormal.
All right, so I'm going to talk about water safety and preparedness. And this is such an important topic because, everyone's at the pool, everyone's trying to cool off, but we really want to make sure we're safe at any time we're near water with kids. So the first thing, water precautions. This is such a big topic and we're really passionate about it, but things you really want to do when you have kids near or playing in the water. You always want to have one designated person as the water watcher, we like to call them. They always want to be within one arm's reach of a child who cannot swim. They need to have zero distractions, no phone, no book, and really no conversations, because that's when things happen. Like you think you're watching and then you start chit-chatting with someone and you take your eyes off the kids, and that's when something happens quickly. So no distractions when you're that water watcher. And then take shifts and make sure when you're switching shifts, you're saying, I'm out, you're in, and you're sure that they're locked on before you check out. If you do have a pool or you're staying in a place with a pool, make sure you have a fence that's locked, that's not able to be easily opened by a child. And ideally, you would want to use just one exit door for the pool area because it minimizes the risk of a kid going in and out easily. So if you have one door and it's always locked, makes things much easier. Swim smart. Like we said, drowning can happen quickly, and it's usually silent. So you usually don't hear that splashing, screaming that you think about, like, oh, I'm drowning, I'm drowning. Oftentimes it's silent and quick. And it can happen even in shallow water. So you just really want to make sure you always have your eye on kids when they are in the pool. And then this is just another thing to always pay attention to. If you ever are at a family gathering or something by a pool and you can't find the kids, always check the pool first, so that you can get there first if they happen to be in the water. This is another thing we get questions about all the time, dry drowning. It's in the news, there's buzzwords. There was even a movie about it where a kid died of dry drowning. It makes everyone panic. It made myself panic. But just to reassure you, this term is actually very misleading. And in the medical community, we don't even use it any longer because it was so misleading and made so many people panic. So what people used to refer to as dry drowning actually refers to like two different situations. One is immediately. So a dry drowning will happen immediately when water goes down the wrong way and causes the vocal cords to tighten and spasm. So you will notice that kids are having trouble breathing, all that immediately. The delayed dry drowning, which is what everyone panics about, that only occurs when like a drowning incident happens first. So like the kid was underwater, there was concern that they were drowning, they had to be brought up and almost resuscitated. In those situations, sometimes the lungs can become injured, and then kids can have spasming and worsening of symptoms a few hours later. But again, it has to be preceded by like a near drowning event, not just like, oh, they went into the bathtub underwater and now I'm scared, they're coughing 2 hours later. Does not happen. You would have had to have been concerned that they actually drowned for that to occur. All right, so I'll stop chatting again, and now we'll bring you over to bugs and ticks. Look at those cute little bugs. Hadley's going to talk to you about them.
This is another topic that comes up a lot for parents. So some of the things we want to talk about is what bug spray to use and kind of what can be in it. DEET up to 30% or picaridin, those are safe ingredients for bug spray. For bug spray in general, including ones that have DEET in them, they're safe for anybody 2 months and older. And so we get a lot of questions. I think people generally kind of steer away from that, but I think our perspective is if you want to avoid bug bites altogether and bugs altogether, we actually do. When you see us picking up bug spray, we usually do pick bug spray that actually does have DEET in it for our kids. And if you're going to apply it, you want to spray it into your hands first and then put it on your child. You're trying not to get it on baby's hands that are going to go directly into their mouth and obviously not into their eyes or into their mouth. There are other things that people like, and I'm not saying you can't use them. You can certainly try them. If they work for your child, that's great. Like those, they sell now like citronella bug stickers. And when I send my kids to camp, do I throw them on them as well? Yes, but I don't do it without a regular bug spray. So it's kind of like additional. But that alone might not be sufficient to really prevent those bites. As far as ticks go, so we've had a lot of questions too about kind of removing ticks. So if you find a tick on your child, the first thing you want to do obviously is get the tick off, right? So you're going to get tweezers, and you really want to use fine tip tweezers and kind of grasp the skin down by the tick's head, and you want to pull straight out rather than twisting. You want to kind of yank it straight out. Then you want to clean the area and your hands with either soap and water, or can even do a little bit of alcohol on that site. But you don't want to be using, like, I think on the internet they often say to use heat or petroleum jelly or like soap and smother the tick. That is not, it's just old school. You want to pull it out and then you want to clean the area. And then often if you want to, you can kind of set the tick aside, but the most helpful thing to do is even just to snap a picture of the tick, because you want to see like how engorged they really look. But the concept of sending a tick for testing is just, it's very uncommon, because by the time you would send it away and get it tested, it would come back and decisions would have already been made about what to do. So it's a little bit too slow to actually act on anything. But having a picture, if you happen to have the tick, snapping a picture of it so you can kind of see what the body type is and try to identify it that way can be helpful. But it's not something that you need to be like saving forever. So if you want to snap a picture and throw it out, that's acceptable too. And then when we talk about Lyme prophylaxis, so for Lyme, there's the concept of prophylaxis, which is usually a one-time dose of doxycycline, which is an antibiotic that some kids can get, but we don't give it to everybody that has a tick on them. So for that to be relevant, it's a black-legged tick, and we want to see that it's been engorged or attached for really over 36 hours. And that's how long it takes for them to be able to transmit Lyme disease. So I think that's important to remember too. I feel like as parents, I've done it. I was rubbing my son's head like at one time and felt a tick on his head, and I like went into my own absolute panic. How long has it been there? How big is it? You go crazy because it's terrifying. But knowing that it really does take 36 hours for that to happen, I think is helpful reassurance. If you're going to get prophylaxis from your pediatrician, that has to be given within the first 72 hours of removal. So again, as soon as you know that there was a tick attached and you suspect it has been a while, you want to reach out to your pediatrician to talk about it. And then this is a cool tool. The CDC has a tick bite bot that just gives you like, it kind of walks you through. It's like a step-by-step, it's like an AI thing, but it's a step-by-step thing about kind of what next steps you would take for tick bites. And I think it's helpful to kind of guide you in the right direction. Of course, you should still talk to your pediatrician, but it's helpful to kind of have that as another thing to bounce ideas off of. So that is the end of our aggressive blabbering session, but we want to open it up if anybody has any questions. And like Saskia said before, we answer questions all day long and none of them there's no stupid question in our eyes. So if there's anything that's been on your mind or that you want to bring up, we are happy to chat about it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. That was really, really great. Super helpful. And I forgot to mention this too for the moms here. This will be recorded, or it is being recorded. So if there's something that, stood out, but you forgot to jot down, you can always go back and access the recording and find that information later. So questions, feel free to just go ahead and start asking if you want to unmute, or like I said earlier, you're welcome to just drop questions in the chat, or if you're looking even just for clarification on something too.
We answered all your questions for you in our slideshow. And if you don't have them now, you could always message us. So we have this is our website, My Pediatrician Friend, and we're giving you guys 1 month free if you want to try us out. You can use the code YANAMOM off the monthly membership. So again, if you don't have questions now or you want to do them in private, you can always do that. But I think there might be a question.
Great. Oh yeah, we do have one. So Lynette is asking, is there any recommendation or tips or tricks for how to handle a hot car in the summer when you place baby in?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely good questions because, babies can overheat faster than we can. So one thing you can do is try to cool off the car before you put baby in. If you know it's going to be a hot car ride, you can always dress them in one less layer than what they were comfortable in the house, because that car seat kind of provides like an extra layer. They're all padded and hot in there. So definitely, I mean, even if it's really hot, having them just in the diaper, totally fine. Another thing that we recommend are those sunshades for the windows, because kids can get sunburned even just from driving in a car. So if you can get those things for the windows to prevent the sun coming in, those are great options. But usually cooling down the car, making sure they're not, maybe taking off one extra layer if you know it's going to be a super hot, long car ride, and then the sunshades.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And then I would just say, like, if the car seat stays in the car, just keeping an eye on the fact that like some of the buckles and things can get warm. So just being cautious of those touching infant skin, which is like so sensitive. But I usually would send someone ahead to try and turn on the car so you can get into a cooler car with baby.
Yeah. Nicer for you too.
Yeah, exactly. For all.
Great. Thank you guys so much. And Lynette said thank you too in the chat. Emily is wondering, are there any concerns with baby in chlorine pools?
No concern. The only thing that we do sometimes see is it can be kind of irritating for the skin. So after you get out of the pool, I mean, definitely enjoy the pool with your baby. They don't always like it, but it's a fun experience, great picture moments. So definitely okay to do. But once you get out of the pool, we do recommend like kind of showering or wiping them down with some water to get that chlorine off, and then moisturization afterwards, because the chlorine can be pretty drying. And kids in the summertime, you would think that because people sweat, they're not going to be dry, but their skin gets so dry from all the sunscreen and everything on there. So put moisturizer on afterwards as well. So shower them or bathe them after you get out of the pool, and then lots of moisturization.
But I think taking a baby in the pool is so fun. I feel like it's like nice exposure. It's a good experience for you. It's like it's nice. So we encourage it.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh yeah, and Emily said thank you. Thanks for asking questions. That's great. Okay, and then Masami is wondering, do muslin car seat covers have the same dangerous effect of increasing temps for the baby?
In general, I try not to put a full blanket over babies when it's hot out. I think if you pull the cover down, mostly you've gotten almost all the way to cover their feet, right? So if you have to like do a little drapage, but I would try not to close it fully like a tent. So you can kind of maneuver it to like cover the feet if you need to. But in general, we try, even though they're lighter and it's probably less of an issue than a heavier blanket, in general, we just try not to like trap air in because you kind of want some cross breeze. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it sort of creates like a hot box and no circulation, like Hadley was saying.
Right. You want the air to move around.
Great. Yes, and Masami said thank you. This was so helpful. Great. Anyone else have questions?
Great. And again, you can message us anytime. Use that 1 month code. Try us out. See if you like us. See if it's helpful. We'd love to chat with you. And your
And I'm
time.
sorry I got booted. It's not a webinar if something doesn't break for Wi-Fi, right? Like then we haven't done it right. So there we go.
It's so true. Yeah, no worries. I'm glad that you could come back on because at first second I was like, oh, did I do something, you know?
No, my whole Wi-Fi dropped out of my house. Amazing.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, Hadley and Saskia. It's just such great info. Super helpful. All those topics that you covered are just, top of mind and really relevant right now as we're in the summer months. And thank you so much for offering this first month free with the Yana Mom code. And I'll make sure that I spread the word. Savannah probably knows, but I'll just make sure I'll confirm that we're spreading the word on that because that's really generous. Thank you so much. And thanks again for your time today.